Look, strict recruitment rules on tattoos and piercing have prevented more than 1,200 Brits from fighting for king and country, despite a chronic hiring crisis plaguing the army. The data shows that more than 800 potential soldiers were blocked from joining because of their body ink, while a further 400 were banned from boot camp because of piercings. The army relaxed its rules on tattoos 10 years ago, but the force still refuses to hire anyone with ink above the collar line or on the hands or piercings that change the way you look. Capita, the outsourcing giant tasked to get a grip of the hiring crisis, has begged the army to not only relax its rules on body modification, but to also allow those with hay fever and asthma to join up. The army, hay fever? The army say they require people to be able to meet and maintain very high standards, but having failed to reach its recruitment target for regular soldiers every year since 2010, and with talk of a wider war in Europe potentially on the horizon, is it time they re-evaluated what is acceptable? I would say yes, it probably is.
No.
I mean, tattoos, I think I'm probably the only person in Britain who doesn't actually have a tattoo, although maybe some of the rest of us don't. But so many people, particularly young people, the people of the right age to join the forces, do have tattoos. And, you know, personally, being middle class and middle-aged, I don't particularly like tattoos above the neckline, but does it really matter that much? Let's have a look at the character. Let's not judge the skin, let's judge the character beneath the skin. And considering our army is now down to 74,000, nowhere near enough to defend a country of 70 million, worrying about whether or not people are tattooed, I should say, ought to be jettisoned right away.
But the thing is, I think we have to look at why the army is struggling to recruit people. Obviously, the fitness standards is one of them. They've had to turn. No, but this is a very small proportion of the hundreds of thousands of people that are turned away from joining the army. A big reason is because they don't meet the fitness standards. Frankly, Britain is getting too fat. Surprisingly, I don't think the tattoos is the main issue. I actually think it's
that's the story we're talking about.
I think
that's the point.
I think it's pay. If you actually offered people more money,
yeah, but what about tattoos?
Army, you wouldn't have to turn
Can I just say
with tattoos, because you'd be able to get more suitable recruits anyway.
I think the story is we shouldn't be
but the thing is, it's not just tattoos. It's tattoos above the collar and hands and body modifications that change the way you look. You can have tattoos. They just can't be above your collar.
Why not?
Because you look like a monster.
Esther,
does it matter?
Esther, that's what you want. You
frightening.
You want.
No, you don't. I'm sorry, no.
Esther, when you're taking on Russians and Ukrainians, when you're taking on scary Russian soldiers, I want...
Have you seen Braveheart?
I want our men and women of war.
I
want them to look fierce.
Shrek.
I want them to look really scary. I want them to have shaved heads and scary tattoos.
This isn't Game of Thrones.
Okay, they are soldiers. They are fighting.
Totally.
Look, young people don't want to fight for this country. I cannot believe we're being choosy. No.
What a stupid thing to say.
Oh.
Some young people do, and some
we
don't.
have James, we have record low recruitment.
Yes,
if we had conscription right now, do you realise how much people...
It's because we've denigrated the services and what they do and what we pay them.
No, because the snowflake generation do not want to go and fight for this
country.
Some
of them don't.
Would you want your son joining the army if he's making £15,000?
Of course I wouldn't. Of course I wouldn't.
There you go.
Can we just get back to the story?
No, but it
Why
matters.
on earth?
It matters, though. If you wouldn't want your son to join the army, then how can you say young people just don't want to join the army? You have reasons for not wanting your son to join.
But
it's irrelevant.
It is relevant.
But the tattoos.
Can we get back to the story?
You're not willing to put your money
I
on
don't care if they have tattoos on their faces or the odd body piercing.
I do, because mostly they're on ceremonial duties.
You
can't have that. If you're trying to encourage tourists into the country, that's their main job.
Oh, James, what is the point?
Why can't they have tattoos on their face?
Because it's gross.
Who cares?
It's grotesque.
They're soldiers. It doesn't
Precisely.
matter.
I think the role and prestige of a soldier has changed. And the reality is, most people now don't want to be in the army. So if someone's got, I don't know, someone's name tattooed on their face, that shouldn't stop them from being in the army. Like
really?
Kevin says. Yeah,
what
really.
What if they have bumhole tattooed on their left?
If you have tattoos that show violence, sex acts, or illegal drugs, then you're banned. Fine.
Really?
But having some
like moron. If you had moron tattooed on your cheek.
that should be okay.
But you see,
that
this
should
is
be
the thing.
okay.
You have a tattoo, and you have a soldier with moron tattooed on their left cheek, shaking King, or like saluting to King Charles. That's embarrassing.
Well,
That's pathetic.
by the way, I'm
we live in a
so
country
sick
with
of seeing
67
people
million
with
people. We
morons.
can do that.
see millions of them, don't you?
We can do better.
I have no idea. These are
think that
armed
if-
forces.
If it's the armed forces, you have to actually maintain, and if you want to get people to join, you've got to increase the prestige of joining. And if if anybody, and there are no standards, and you're just kind of recruiting anybody just to shove them in as cannon fodder,
here's the thing.
then fine, go
Why
ahead.
is it low
Yeah.
standards to look down? Why is it low standards to have tattoos on your face?
Because it's
Why are you
grotesque.
even asking that
It's grotesque.
question?
Because you are trapped in your middle class
James,
world.
do you
There's
seriously
nothing
want
wrong
every...
with tattoos on your face.
Yes, there is.
Do you
there
want
is.
every soldier to look like Prince William?
It's not about looking like Prince William, but you don't look like a crazy person. If you tattoo, I'm sorry, if you tattoo your face, there's something unscrewed.
No, there isn't.
Yes,
No,
there
there's
is.
not. No.
Yes, there is.
Esther, there's not. That's a real classist
no, it's
attitude.
not a classist attitude.
Let's look at the army, where they recruit from. The majority of places they recruit from are from the poorest areas in this country.
Listen.
So if you're going to target, if you're going to target the poorest areas of the country, where people generally have more tattoos than, say, the most affluent people, then you should make it open for all of
Why do we assume that working class people don't have class? Why do we just assume that because you're working class?
I'm saying
it's uncouth.
I'm saying it's okay to have
Having facial tattoos is uncouth
no,
and
it's not.
grotesque.
No, it's not
And I'm sorry,
uncouth.
So
being working
what?
class
It
has
doesn't
nothing
matter
to do
if
with
you're uncouth if you're in the
Yeah.
army. Who cares?
Follow
Well,
the rules.
Middle class.
Okay.
Shoot your gun and follow the rules.
Exactly. Be strong, be brave, and be willing to die for your country. Anyway,
Well said.
from